Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.
Enthusiasm and tirelessness work done by all volunteers resulted in an unparalleled efficiency, and the project, which was slated to take all afternoon, was done in only a few short hours. The removal of the old wooden fence allows the city to move forward with replacing the dilapidated fence with a new steel fence, which will last for generations of Gold Sox fans to enjoy. City staff is grateful for your service to our community, and we look forward to further collaboration between us. And I got to tell you, Jeff, it's more than this. All the work you did over on the street that fronts the river behind the old cannery there, which has been undermined by our friends at Mountain Mike's Pizza, and we're on them like white on rice. But you guys just do a fabulous job, and the city is so grateful.
Thank you. Can I address the board for a minute?
Please do.
All right. Well, as you know, most of you know about SAYlove now. SAYlove is not me, and I've received several of these, and I very much appreciate it. But many of you are just as much part of SAYlove as I am, and especially the people on the council. They put in a lot of work, and I don't believe any of you guys are getting rich from it. So I would like to give you guys an award for participating in SAYlove and just being a part of a good community and supporting a great community. So I have bought caps for everyone. And thank you for all the support you guys give to SAYlove.
Jeff, there are those on the council far more deserving of this than me, but I'm keeping it anyway. Thank you. Oh, sure. Just a minute. What I have here. Thank you. Thanks, appreciate it. Thank you very much. Salyer, okay. This next letter of appreciation is to the Feather River Men's Center, and John Salyer is here to accept. It reads as follows: to the volunteers from the Feather River Men's Center. The city of Marysville sincerely thanks you for your service to our community on Saturday, February 26, 2022, where volunteers from the Feather River Men's Center assisted with the cleanup of the demolished wooden fence at Bryan Field. I'm going to interrupt here. And this has been talked about a lot. I mean, apparently it was just a bang-up job and everybody loved it, really did. I'll read on. The enthusiasm and tirelessness work done by all volunteers resulted in an unparalleled efficiency in the project, which was slated to take all afternoon, was done in only a few short hours. The removal of the old wooden fence allows the city to move forward with replacing the dilapidated fence with a new steel fence, which will last for generations of Gold Sox fans and the citizens of Marysville to enjoy. City staff is grateful for your service, genuinely grateful, and to our community, and we look forward to further collaboration. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Who wants to take your picture? Oh, please do. Please.
Yeah, so, you know, I'm just one of the 12 guys that showed up that day to help out. And so we're very grateful for the opportunity to help Marysville out. We're very grateful for the opportunity to be productive members of our society. Again, a lot of the guys there have had troubled past. And so this is a good way for them to be reintegrated into society. And we really appreciate the opportunity. And anytime you guys need help again, let us know. Thank you.
Sir, thanks for coming by. Thank you. Appreciate everything you do. Got a hat. Okay, we will now move to the, and you can keep those hats on. Those hats can be worn proudly in here.
I was planning on it. Thank you.
There you go. We'll move to the community and consent calendar forum. Individuals wishing to address the city council concerning consent calendar items or on matters not already on the agenda are invited to make oral comments of up to 3 minutes. If you would like to comment, you're attending the meeting in person, please complete a speaker's card, return it to the director, and when called upon, please go to the podium to address the council. If you're participating via Zoom, raise your hand. When called upon, you'll be unmuted. Whoever may speak, you're requested to address your comments to the council and not to the audience. And you need to know that by state law, the council is not permitted to undertake any action or discussion on an item not already appearing on the posted agenda. If you have any documentation you'd like to share with the council, please mail that documentation to City Clerk, 526 C Street, Marysville, 95901. Madam Director, do we have any members of the public wishing to comment on these?
We do not, Mayor.
We do not. Thank you. Okay. We are now on the consent calendar. All matters on the consent agenda are considered routine and therefore approved by one motion unless a council member or the city manager first requests that a matter be removed from the consent agenda for separate discussion and action. What is the will of the council?
So moved.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Madam Director, that is unanimous. Okay, we'll get to move through a couple pages here. Okay, we're now at the discussion and action calendar. And as with the consent agenda, no, it's different. All matters on this section agenda are discussed and will be acted on individually. Members of the public may request to speak on any of these items for up to 3 minutes when called upon for public comment. If you'd like to comment attending in person, please complete a speaker's card and return it to the director. When called upon, go to the podium and address the council. If you're participating via Zoom and would like to speak, please raise your hand via Zoom. And when called upon by the city clerk, in this case the director, you will be unmuted and you can address the city council. Whether you're here in person or attending via Zoom, when called upon, please give your name clearly for audio recording. If you have any documentation you'd like to share, send it to City Clerk, 526 East Street, Marysville 95901. Item number 10 on the agenda is Yuba-Sutter Economic Development District 2020 CEDS. I'll be looking for some explanation of these abbreviations here. Appendices 1, 4, 5, updates in 2021 CEDS, annual performance and evaluation. I was just kidding. That is Comprehensive Economic Development Performance Report. Is that right? CEDS, thank you very much. And we do not have Brenda here today. Who do we have to present this?
Good evening, Mayor Cranston and City Council members. My name is Cynthia Roderick. I am the SEDS Committee Chair, and I am representing the Economic Development District. And unfortunately, Brenda cannot be here. She's still recovering from her broken leg, so you get the second string. So I'm
make sure you share our best with her. I'm sorry to hear she broke her leg.
Yeah,
it was a bad break.
It's been a long recovery period.
Oh,
this is well before Christmas. We're seeking adoption to approve the 2021 SEDS evaluation, appendices 1, 4, and 5. And for those that you don't know, the SEDS is a comprehensive economic development strategy. It's a regional document. Its purpose is to guide us through economic growth in the Yuba-Sutter region. And the SEDS process helps to create jobs, foster a more stable and diverse economy, improve living conditions in our region. And it's a mechanism to coordinate the efforts of individuals, organizations, local governments, and private industry concerned with economic development. The annual update is a requirement of the Department of Commerce Economic Development Administration under its Public Works and Economic Adjustment and most of their planning programs. So the evaluation document represents the goals and objectives that we had set out as a region in our 2020 to 2025 SEDS document. And its input is comprised of Yuba-Sutter counties, the cities of Live Oak, Marysville, Wheatland, and Yuba City. Next slide, please. Use the clicker. Okay, our vision is to foster a vibrant, prosperous, and growing Yuba-Sutter region through exceptional leadership and involvement of the community. And if you would go to the next slide. Right now, I'm going to talk about some of our regional accomplishments. And despite the pandemic, we did have some positive results over 2021. Our employment growth did go up 5.2%. We did have an increase in our labor force, not by much, but people are going back to work. Unemployment did drop. At the result of this, it only shows a -6%. We're actually at, I believe it's 6.6%. The 10.2 represents the annual unemployment rates. The annual wages, which is went up substantially, 6.1%. That makes our area or our region more attractive to businesses and people coming within our region looking to move here. So we did have a substantial increase in that respect. And next slide. Poverty levels stayed stagnant, although if you looked back in about 20 years, our poverty levels were almost 25%. So over the years, we have made a substantial drop. We're not running much higher than the national level. Median household income, it didn't change much. However, most interesting to note is the gross domestic product. We grew by 7.25% over 2019 and 2020. And just for a point of reference, both the state of California and nationwide contracted. So we went against the stream here. So it's something you guys should pat yourself on the back.
Exactly what drove that? Do you have any data on the underlying?
I really don't. I can't tell you that. Agriculture did drop substantially this year if you looked at that data report. I think because our region didn't quite close down maybe as tightly as the rest of the nation, but I'm just speculating. I couldn't tell you exactly why. We did have a lot of movement towards our area.
That'd be very interesting if you do collect any information on that. That'd be very interesting to know.
Forget who puts this out. They haven't listed any particular reasons at this point.
Quick question.
Yes.
Quick question. We have the median household income up there at 58. That's in Yuba City. Do we have any
That's
number?
our regional. This is a regional number.
It is regional?
Yeah, it's so
Okay.
if you look at the median income at Wheatland, it's 94.
Yeah,
So-
that's why I know Marysville is at 58.
Yeah. So this is a regional, these figures that I'm giving you is regional, and it's all, how do you say, averaged out. So this is our regional, you take it at a regional. I believe the area around Ellis Lake is at 38. So, but for our regional median household income throughout Yuba and Sutter, it's at 58,605.
So the Yuba City Metropolitan Statistical Area, that encompasses Marysville, Yuba City. Does it encompass all of Yuba and Sutter counties?
Yes, it does, sir.
Thank you.
Next slide, please. We're still struggling with education attainment. This has been an ongoing issue. Those that did not receive it, it did drop down to 19%, but we're really struggling here. In terms of high school graduates, it stayed stagnant. We did have an increase in college without a degree. We had an increase of associate degrees, and we had an increase in postgraduate degrees. The bachelor degrees did drop a little bit. We figure, and don't take me to court on this one, but we figure that it's a new influx of populations moving from the Bay Area and from Southern Alberta, which attributes this increase in the higher education. The largest increase or influx of population did come from Southern California, particularly LA, Riverside areas, is what we have noted. So I think it's been influenced by new people moving into the area. And if you'll go to the next one. These are accomplishments that the city of Marysville did that aligns with the SED's tactics. So to modernize the region's infrastructure to meet future demands, the flood protection of city of Marysville is now certified at a 300-year level. There's more phasing and more construction going on with that. Next slide, please, Tim. As you all know, we had the groundbreaking ceremony on the 5th Street Bridge. The design was completed in 2021, and now construction is moving on. And next slide. To improve and modernize, although this is not specifically Marysville, this is more a regional thing, but the Yuba-Sutter Transit did complete the purchase of top-ranked site to achieve emission zero bus facility. So that will affect us regionally. Next slide, Tim. Ellis Lake restoration, the nutrient management study was completed, which was in partnership with the Yuba Water Agency. And that was completed the summer of 2021. And currently the city is seeking funding for enhancement of the lake and has application in with Caltrans and Prop 68 funding. Hopefully we'll hear from the Caltrans grant application at the end of March. And then the Marysville Bicycle and Pedestrian Improvement Project was completed. Next slide. Just to recap all the capital infusion that came into the region and into Marysville and Wheatland. So there was 2 rounds of funding for business and nonprofits, which there was no repayment required. There was a total of 89 grants for $1 million, of which 48 went to businesses in Marysville, which totaled almost half that $1 million, or more than half. And 5 went to Wheatland businesses. And Kim?
If I could point something out, that $1 million in grants is almost exactly the increase in the gross domestic product in the region.
Yeah.
That may be a big part of the explanation.
Yeah, it could be, yeah. I couldn't tell you that for sure or not. Next one. There was a SBA payroll protection loan program, and for businesses up to 150,000, there was 335 businesses assisted in Yuba County, of which 182 were Marysville businesses. That's almost $17 million in funding that these businesses received. Of that, nearly 15 million was forgiven. They don't have to pay it back. And this represents 2,505 jobs. Next slide, please. For businesses that produced over 150,000, there were 66 businesses assisted. 18 were Marysville businesses. This totaled $38 million was funded, and 33, almost 34 was forgiven of that funding. Excuse me. This represented 3,514 jobs in the area, in Yuba County. Next slide, please. SBA also had what was called an EIDL, or Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. There were 99 businesses assisted, 43 which were Marysville businesses, 6 were Wheatland, 13 was Olivehurst, and 40 were the other census designated places. 14.5 million was funded, and of that 14.5, nearly 2 million was granted. Next slide. And then there was the California Relief Grant Program. This was a very convoluted state program. People had a lot of difficulty. We assisted a lot of businesses making applications, but 234 businesses were assisted in the amount of $6 million. 24 of those were as nonprofits. 116 were from businesses from Marysville. 48 Olivehurst, Plumas Lake, and 14 were in Wheatland. So there was, I think there's one more, or maybe that was it. So there was a lot of capital infusion in the area, which, as Mayor Brownspin said, helped us keep our numbers on our growth and our economics up and not struggling so much. There's a couple other things I'd like to mention. Yuba-Sutter Economic Development has completed a pandemic and disaster recovery resiliency plan. It is posted up on our website. It is a numerous number of pages, but the first 14 is the one that has the guts of it. And then additionally, we have made application on behalf of Yuba and Sutter counties for a micro-business grant in the amount of $2,500. I don't see why we would not get awarded, but it would assist 31 micro businesses in the Yuba County area. I will let you know once we have received notification. And if you have any questions for me, I'll answer to the best of my ability.
Through the chair.
Sir.
Thank you for the presentation. Mildly curious into which one of these capital infusion programs, if you remember the Yuba-Sutter Economic Development Corporation helped Yuba County supervisors create a loan program, and I know a lot of that was forgiven. That fell into which one?
I didn't even mention the loan program because it essentially got finished in 2020.
Okay.
The city of Marysville did put up $75,000,
Remember.
which assisted 9 local businesses. And then Yuba County put up, I think it was 500,000, and Sutter County put up 500,000. The loans weren't forgiven per se, unless they got grant funding and they wanted to apply that grant funding. I believe there are about 5 Marysville businesses left to pay off that loan. It's a 3-year loan,
right?
No interest or anything. And I believe 5 might be a bit more. I don't have accurate numbers.
No, thank you. You reminded me, you are correct. That was 2020.
Yeah.
And this is on last year. So thank you. I forgot that. It was a long.
It's been a long 2 years.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you.
Already, and I would appreciate you adopting a resolution to accept the 2021 evaluation. There's more information in that than I just touched on a few things. And the updates to appendices 1, 4, and 5.
You know how to sell.
Thank you.
That's a closing statement. Very good. All right. Let's see. Any public comment, Madam Director?
Not at this time, Mayor.
Not at this time. Thank you very much. Okay, we're no longer public comment. Any other comment, questions from the council? Noting none, what is the will of the council?
I'll make a motion to adopt this resolution.
We have a motion.
A second.
And a second. All in favor?
Aye.
And that's unanimous, Madam Director. Thank you very much. I read along with great interest. Thank you. Oh no, I was. You had my attention. Okay. Okay, we now go to committee reports. We're going to do a reverse again here. Vice Mayor, anything to report? Committees. I'll come back to you if you remember. All right. Councilman Hudson.
No, I'm just shocked and awed at the clock right now.
Councilman Belza. Thank you. Councilman Gilchrist.
I have nothing to report.
Neither do I. Let's move along here. Madam Director, any council correspondence?
There is no council correspondence.
Mr. City Manager.
Few things. Sorry. First of all, I wanted to say we have ramped up our enforcement activities for blight and associated issues, both on the commercial properties and residential properties. The team, our community development folks and PD folks have been looking at both and have started issuing warnings and citations on both. So that's a positive step, but just forewarning all, you may get calls from constituents regarding that. We are getting close to putting a committee together for general plan advisory purposes, and Kathy Pease will be putting out a memo to all of the council members for that, and would like your input if you feel there should be other stakeholders represented. Our Gavin Park well is moving forward. finally, and it should be completed very shortly, I would say within the month, hopefully. More importantly, and Jeff left, we will be starting on the Gavin Park Playground project, and our staff as well as SAYlove will be starting to excavate dirt out of that area, take playground equipment out in preparation for the contractor to install new equipment and really make that a nice looking playground area in the park. Once again, SAYlove, a big part of that. They have stepped up. If anybody knows of any organizations that love to haul dirt for free, please let us know. We have a lot of dirt to remove there, gravel and dirt. Ellis Lake, just a reminder, carp removal this month, the 21st through 25th, followed by a phosphate treatment in early April. We may, just based on our conversation today, I hope I'm not stealing Council Member Bell's thunder, but we may be out there removing vegetation from the cobblestone walls in between those two activities just to get that cleaned up. The outfield walls, corrugated steel, is due on my birthday, the 18th. What a great birthday present. Iron workers, you'll probably start seeing some iron workers and pipe fitter union folks out there hanging more tubing. The tubing's all here. And I did want to thank HSD Trucking for getting that over to the yard. We had no way of moving those 24-foot sections, and they were a great help in doing that. And as an FYI, we have put a proposal out to Rotary to see if they'll help fund some of the activities on the wall. Hope to hear from them, I think, towards the end of this month as well. And then there should be some quite a few people out finishing up the bleachers out at the softball fields tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. So Jeff handed out these hats, and I think the expectation is that he see 12 hats out at those activities. If anybody wants to help with that, please contact Chief Sachs. And then the last one I have is just the B Street property RFQ closes on the 24th. Is that correct? That was it?
Can you say how many proposals we have?
I do not know. Dan, do we have any information on that?
Only that we've had several, and we don't know the number. Ed Nelson just mentioned that we had several, and that a couple of really good ones.
Several, I count that as more than 4.
Yeah, it could be more. I count as more than 3, sort of 4, you know. Okay. But I'm sure we're going to we have a lot of good interest, so it'd be good to see. I also want to mention, Jim mentioned that we have the, sorry, I feel like coughing here, but the Gavin Park coming up, and there's going to be a ribbon cutting or a groundbreaking for Gavin Park. So just watch your calendars. We'll be making an announcement for that, for you to come out to the groundbreaking as well.
Okay, now we...
Mr. Chair?
Oh, sir, please.
One quick question. On you said you started the blight. Where did you end up going with fines? I mean, that was the whole thing. Were we going to do a taxation? Were we going to do the current fines we used? What did we use for those?
I can give you an update.
Okay.
I did send an email out to all of the council members with the ordinances that are related to blight that our city clerk generated.
Right, yes.
And frankly, that information is what we're enforcing against. It's quite extensive if you look at that. So I believe at least one location, as an example, we cited for standing water. Is that correct? A certain loading ramp. And Chief can expound on what they've done. I'm glad that he mentioned,
I just want to add that we're working really closely with PD and community development, working closely together to implement these enforcement rules. So any of those calls that you get in, feel free to refer them out to community development to support you guys, because you will be getting those calls. So just a good warning.
I'll save my comments for council comments. It's a hot topic. Moving ahead, we can now go to council comments, requests, and we'll reverse the batting order. Councilman Belza.
Well, to add the lightning to the thunder that you stole. No, we did. We had a meeting today with the SAYlove stakeholders, you might say, and the last Saturday of this month, the 27th, that's the plan to do an Ellis Lake cleanup. We're going to have boats and people along the bank, but the idea is to cut back a lot of the sucker vegetation that grows up between the cobblestones that deteriorates the wall. So there's some work that's going to be done there, and so everybody can wear their hats. It's going to be a nice, beautiful, sunny day, and we can all show up, clean up Ellis Lake. Other than that, good job, everybody. I really want to speak to our strat plan meeting that we had last week. I still think about it, how valuable it was. We covered a lot of ground as a city, and I'm excited in the direction and the momentum that we have moving forward. So good job to everybody. That was a long, grueling day, but it was well worth it. So that's all. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Gilchrist.
Oh, I have nothing in particular to add to Councilman Belza's, other than it's very nice to see all of this forward-moving, positive momentum in improving economic prosperity for Marysville.
Councilman Hudson.
I too just like to add that of the 3 years I've been on here, there was a good strategic planning meeting we had last week, and I think the staff for putting that on, and I'm very thankful that we got better chairs on this dais. Other than that, Chief Sachs, I appreciate hearing about the enforcement. That's good stuff. And I'm glad that all the departments are working together on that, and it's working out well, because it is something that needs to happen. And I'm ready to get the phone calls, but they never come, and I'm okay with that. And then for the rest staff, just thank you for all the work that you guys are just doing and covering everybody. And it is great to see things moving. It was neat to see Ms. Still Stewart's thing here, the general plan, and the packet was kind of nice right now. And see us making positive steps for something that's a little antiquated. So SAYlove and your guys' group for volunteering. I really appreciate what you guys did there. look forward to continued support with you guys because, yeah, we need help on projects, stuff like that. So thank you for your time and thank you for everything. Everything steps forward in the city are awesome. Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
I just mostly want to compliment you on the strategic planning. I've been through a couple of them, and the most successful one of actually getting something done. So congratulations on doing a great job on that. So.
That was a lot of my staff's work.
Well, thanks to the staff too. I was sorry to miss the Buckeye. Unfortunately, I had to be out of town, but I understand it was a fun event, and we missed out on I missed out on a couple of meals that have traditionally been really great. So I'm glad to see that Buckeye is carried on. Lastly, I just want to state that if you get a phone call, there's one answer that will work pretty well, and that is even the vice mayor had gotten a phone call last year about moving a trailer. So it's not like they're picking on anybody beyond up on this dais.
Thank you. I've got a little bit of a laundry list. I'll move through it quickly. Buckeye. It was my first Buckeye celebration that I attended in person since 1962. It means I'm old because I was not an infant at that time. And it was fun. It's one of the great treasures of our community is the Chinese community and the history of what we still call Chinatown. And it's wonderful. It was a wonderful experience. Everybody's mentioned strategic planning. I'm going to climb on board. I'm certain most, if not all of us, have engaged in strategic planning exercises in the past. I was expecting a lot with our new city manager and our staff, and everything exceeded expectations. I will admit to learning a great deal at this meeting. Information came up that maybe I had passed by me but had not stuck, and I was so grateful to have that experience. It was really a terrific experience. Well done, well led, and well executed by staff. I'm sorry this happened. I got a call. I just went through my old voice messages, and I don't know how much of the fence that's been taken down is still in one piece anywhere, or what can be done with the other fence. But Mel Lindstrom had said that the murals done on that fence are rare anymore. And so if the fence that's been torn down has been trashed and burned, so be it. But if there's something we're saving on the rest of it, it'd be worth considering with him. He says that's valuable and it has historic and cultural significance.
I have talked to Mel, and he was a little late on the 14th Street fence, but I have offered him the B Street fence, portions of that if he can get out there and do it. My concern is just the condition, but he is actually one of two people that expressed interest in that those murals, and we will see if we can accommodate them on that.
Yeah, as long as they pitch in and help taking them down, huh? Yeah. I've been, and I don't know if others have been in this position, but I've received a number of very supportive comments for the concept of a blight or blight tax primarily. And maybe it's a tax, maybe it's fees, maybe it's fines, I don't know. But the people have come out of nowhere to say that's something the city needs. And that's in connection with everything that our city manager, chief of police, and others have described in terms of code enforcement. Code enforcement and dealing with these things enhances, I'm stating, I'll just demonstrate my grip on the obvious. It enhances the quality of life in the city. Furthermore, it increases property values. I drove by a place, and I'd be interested in a real estate professional's view on this. There is a new spec house. It's a very modest abode on 11th Street, just west of E. That's not in the alley. It's facing 11th. It's behind the houses that face Washington Square, that curve, and this faces E. It faces the educational facility there. And it's fenced off. It's 2-bedroom, 2-bath. Doesn't look that big. It doesn't have a garage. I presume it's well built. $365,000. I remember, I was out pounding the pavement looking for votes, far finer looking abodes, at least on first impression, were not priced that high. And I don't know if that's market now, and I don't know what's happening to the market, but I wish them well in their efforts to sell it for that. And it's interesting to see that kind of activity. I'm happy to hear about the Habitat for Humanity is being addressed. I'm certain I'm not the only one who's received a comment from someone who said the worst thing about coming into Marysville is seeing that trash behind the Habitat for Humanity. And it's not all trash, but it has a negative appearance. It does not make a good first impression, and continued pressure there is warranted, and I support it. And all of the work, and I wish that SAYlove does such great work, and the work that was done behind the cannery, I forget the name of the street, the one that fronts the, Featherside. It's the street that fronts the West Levee behind the old cannery and behind the Save Mart and what have you. Mountain Mike's does not have a big enough dumpster. Right now, that dumpster is overflowing. And you could take an equivalent amount of material that would be in that dumpster, and it is scattered everywhere, absolutely everywhere. And it just offends me on behalf of the people from SAYlove and on behalf of the people in the city. That needs aggressive enforcement, absolutely aggressive enforcement. That has not changed, and it needs attention. Sounds like I'm going through a bitch list. I apologize. And who would that be? Anyhow, that's the end of my comments. I want to come back to the code enforcement, enhancing the quality of life. This is so important to the city, and it will enhance property values and maybe allow that guy, whoever's marketing that place on 11th Street, to achieve their asking price. I believe we are at a point for adjournment. Before that, next meeting, Tuesday of the council, Tuesday, April 5th, 2022 at 6 p.m. Adjourned.
Have written statements in compliance with the petition, and that is a valid protest hearing at exceeding 50% at 54%.
All right, thank you, Mr. Moody. Mr. Chaffin, if you could help us here. There has been, at the last hearing, there was a lot of questions. What are the council's option at this? I know that I've gone through the material as well as my colleagues. I think I have a good understanding of what our options are, but could you walk us through what our role and what our options are tonight before we open the public hearing? And we're going to go through everything, but I want to know where we're at tonight as we begin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The council's role is basically that of a facilitator under state law. What that means is if there is a majority protest existing at the time of the close of the public hearing, in other words, somebody has not withdrawn their protest in writing, then there has been, you would have to declare a majority protest, and state law restricts further action by the council. Your hands are basically tied in that regard. So what that would mean is the existing district, which had a term of 5 years, will be expiring very shortly of its own terms, and there is a process for how that expiration is set out, and that'll occur automatically without any further action. So unless a protest is withdrawn by the end of the close of the public hearing, the council is required to just say that acknowledge there's been a majority protest and then go to the next agenda item without taking any further action.
All righty. Thank you, Mr. Chaffin. With that, we will open the public hearing on the Yuba-Sutter Tourism Improvement District Renewal is now open. If there are any members of the public who would like to address the council on this issue, please provide your statement via public comment, state your name and address for the record. And agenda item 10, I'm just taking the cards as they were given to me. First up, I have Marnie Sanders.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. And my name is Marnie Sanders. I'm the CEO of the Yuba-Sutter Chamber of Commerce, which is located over at 1300 Franklin Road. And it is my understanding with protests being at 54%, your hands are basically tied, but I would like to make a statement on behalf of the Yuba-Sutter Chamber of Commerce. I just want to express our support of the Tourism Improvement District and the 2% tax, which I understand is a tax that is placed on guests that pay. And it really is a norm in many communities. And that revenue then is used to fund the Yuba-Sutter Lodging Association. Some of us know it to be named Visit Yuba-Sutter. And really, I mean, it's a fraction of a cost to a guest, but it means a great deal to our community. So while I know that, we're sitting here with all this opposition, but it really is my hope that the Yuba-Sutter Lodging Association Board and others will work together, and I'm hearing that tonight, to ensure a solid relationship into the future. From the Chamber's vantage point, the YSLA has been actively engaged in attracting tourism to our community, promoting Yuba-Sutter as a destination. Attracting tourism has been a long-term effort, but an effort that I hope that we don't give up on as a community. It's good for business and it's good for our community. The YSLA has made great strides over the past several years. They have built a strong marketing and outreach plan and have created a beautiful visitors guide, robust website, and lots of great destination ideas for our trip planners. In addition to their specific work, they have also supported our local events that attract visitors, including the Swan Festival, the Peach Festival, and Bike Around the Buttes. The Chamber is especially grateful for the investment that they have made to support the creation of the film Yuba-Sutter, which we just started embarking on that this year. YSLA, they've recognized that this investment will promote tourism and visibility for the region, but more importantly, it's going to provide huge opportunities for economic development and job creation for our region. So without the Yuba-Sutter Lodging Association's presence as what happens to tourism? Is it going to go away entirely? It sounds like they're still going to be working on it. The funding of the more traditional media, online media, website development and staffing could potentially go away. And sadly, Film Yuba-Sutter is at risk of losing continued funding, and we're just getting started. The Yuba-Sutter region has a treasure trove of destinations for all kinds of big and small adventures, not to mention some spectacular businesses here that benefit from having visitors. So I'm hopeful that Visit Yuba-Sutter, the Yuba-Sutter Lodging Association, sticks around. It's a great community asset that presents us many wonderful opportunities. So thank you.
Thank you, Marnie. Up next, I have Charles Sharp.
Good evening, Charles Sharp. I'm from Oregon House. I own Frenchtown Inn in the foothills of Yuba County. I'm also on the board of the Lodging Association. Since 2017, the YSLA has spent $170,000 in the Yuba-Sutter area to sponsor such events as the Swan Festival, golf tournaments, Marysville Christmas Parade, the Beach Festival, and to support a Yuba-Sutter Film Commission. But you all know this. Over a year ago, the association began the process of renewing the TBID. Everybody that was part of the association was informed about what was happening. They could have attended board meetings, even become part of the board, but they did not do this. Instead, at the last minute, a grand walkout is staged, coming up with this red herring that they get no benefit from this tax. Rubbish. I cannot imagine an extra $2 or $3 per room is going to make any difference for a tax that is passed on to the guest anyway. So why are they doing this? Are they just grumpy that the COVID-19 restrictions have so adversely affected the hospitality business? Is it that they just want to complain about how difficult things have been and the Lodging Association is a convenient scapegoat? Something like this is going on. It's more, these are not public comment. These are internal discussions because these lodging associations are part of the Yuba-Sutter Lodging Association. They're not public in that sense. They're internal. They're part of the organization. But they choose this last minute protest and they benefit from this tax with the economics and everything. Anyway, most of the people that stay in my inn come through Airbnb. I honestly do not know of anyone that found out about the inn from the digital marketing ads or the Visit Yuba-Sutter website. So I should be leading this protest, but I'm not grumpy, and I can see the overall value of the lodging associations that it provides to the area. It's good for the overall economy, and it's good for the people that are now complaining. So I guess with that, I'll say thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sharp. Next, we have Lee Jones.
Good evening, Lee Jones, Harkey House. Hey, it's not fun to lose. I don't like to lose. Laura, it's great you're here tonight. We've been working on tourism since we met at the chamber back in 2003, 2004. She gets tourism. A lot of people in this room get tourism. Our board gets tourism, and we diligently got the website going, got the digital ads going, got the visitor's guide up, hand carried them, delivered them to every motel in Yuba City 5 years ago. Went to Best Western, welcomed her, invited her to attend a board meeting, called her twice already, come back to a board meeting. She'd be a great board member, and nothing happened. So we were so busy marketing tourism, we didn't reach out. We failed to reach out to other lodgers, and I apologize for that. We have work to do. We're still in the infancy. We haven't given up. We have remarkable things to offer guests. Our Harkey guests come mostly from Bay Area. We're a Pacific Flyway. They hike the buttes and they come year after year after year. When I reached out to a lodger, one of the things was not us, it was chickens. She is losing business. I have had 4 guests come in who will no longer go to one of our motels because the chickens keep them up all night. Some of the issues were not us. Some of them are the chickens, and you've got to take a look at that. I don't know. But meanwhile, I'm getting more guests, but I would rather share those guests with other good motels here. But we've got work to do, and I was writing up a ticket this morning for, we're $210 a night in Yuba City. The cottage is $250 a night, included breakfast. And that little 2% was $5, $4. And no one here pays it. It's the visitors that come and stay in our motels and bed and breakfast that pay it. and the money's going to go away. So we're throwing out the baby with the bathwater. It's too bad. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Lee. Any other comments from the public? Jacob, now is your time if you'd like to read that.
Yes, sir. And as I said, I just wanted to make sure we had a chance to voice Hard Rock's voice at this table from the letter. So I'll just recite the letter really quick, just so we have that here. And so it says, to whom we may concern, we are writing to you in support of the Yuba-Sutter Lodging Association's renewal of the Tourism Improvement District and the 2% TBID assessment tax for an additional 10-year term through 2032. It has come to our attention that there is some hesitation from a group of lodgers, which has put this renewal at risk. Hard Rock Hotel and Casino Sacramento at Fire Mountain is committed to the Yuba-Sutter Lodging Association and all its efforts to support bringing in more tourism into our communities. Hard Rock Hotel and Casino Sacramento at Fire Mountain voluntarily pays into the TBID because of its commitment to be used to benefit businesses and residents in the community and surrounding regions. We believe in the promotion and economic growth for everyone in the Yuba and Sutter counties, and the YSLA has made many strides over the years that continue to promote investment and tourism evolution for local businesses and not just lodging. I currently act as a member of the board of directors for the Yuba-Sutter Lodging Association for the year and will continue to be actively involved in developing the association, energizing its strategies to better the business environment, and foster the lodging and overall economic growth for our community. So I'll leave that there with that letter.
All right, thank you. Any other comments from the public at the public hearing? Any other comments?
Through the mayor, if there are no more public comments, could you ask if there is a final call for anyone who would like to change their vote?
I will in just a moment, Mr. Chaffin. Thank you. Calling the third time under, I use Robert's rules a lot, so the third time. Any other comments from the floor? Any comments from online?
No comments.
All right, then with that, to exactly where we need to be, is there anyone that would like to change their vote from a no to a yes in the room, online? Anyone would like to change their vote? Anyone that would like to change their vote? Hearing none. Mr. Moody, do we still have a valid protest?
With the public hearing closed, yes, we do.
All right. With that, then I will move to hearing no further comment on the issue. I'm closing the public hearing and bringing the matter back to council. Is there any comments from the council? Any comments from the council? All right. With that, we have to act in accordance with a valid protest. So there would be no action taken on this at this time. On a separate note, I would like to encourage the Lodging Association, our hotels, the chamber, everyone get together and work together and figure it out. We need each other in this community all the way around. Right now, I know the hotels are full, but there'll come a day, and I remember a day that hotels weren't always full. So just remember that you need each other. We are a tight community. And if this happens to be the avenue that you so choose, Mr. Chapin, it would be April of 2023 before we would be able to entertain this, correct?
Yes, it would be March 17th of 2023 or 16th, I believe. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you. And with that, we will move to agenda item 11, which is the wastewater treatment facility, effluent discharge outfall diffuser project, CEQA adoption. That is a mouthful. Philip Marler, our Deputy Public Works Director of Utilities.
I think I got this one.
Oh, you got this one. They crossed it out.
He's up here soon.
Okay, Mr. Moody.
Okay, so you know, this is one of our big projects going on in the Public Works Department. And with that, it was highlighted in a recent presentation with the state this last Friday.
Spencer, could you get the door for us? Okay, thank you, Mr. Moody. Continue, please.
Okay, so this is a big project for Public Works and for the city. What this has to do with it's the environmental document, basically approving the environmental document for the city's wastewater diffuser project. And so as this was highlighted with the state in the presentation last week with the council, I'll do a quick overview of it. And so the next slides kind of dive off into it. But what we have is up here, we have the wastewater treatment plant, and then we have a current pipe that's called the diffuser that goes out into the Shanghai Bend, the old rapids. And so then we have an option for the diffuser, which went into the rapids area. And then we had an option that goes underneath the river and it goes into the ponds. And so with some scour and some storm events, it changed the river. And so that's left this pipe high and dry out of the water. And then with this pipe, there's permit requirements as to the amount of water flow that's before you release the effluent out of the pipe. There's requirements about how much water need to be over the pipe, and so how it mixed into to get the appropriate mixing into that. And so right now we're working with the state and worked out some emergency in lieu measures, that allowed us to discharge back and forth between the ponds while it's dry. But that's really a short-term program, a short-term option as we've worked to find a new location for the diffuser. And so in 2011, the Feather River scoured the deep channel, and we had the 2017 Orville Dam Emergency. Through this here, we have limited capacity, required routine monitoring and maintenance because of where it's at. It's vulnerable to damage during times of high water. And so what we've done is since many years back with the change, we've decided, hey, we need to move forward either regulatory, both because of to meet our regulatory requirements and to have a long-term diffuser option for the city. We've moved forward with the design and the permitting for this project. And so where we're at is that we're 90% through the design, and we've initiated the permitting applications. And so in order to start applying for grant opportunities and to move farther into the design phase and finalize the project, we need to approve the CEQA document. And so with that, Yuba City is the lead agency. We've contracted with CH2 Hill to be to take that scope of work on with us in conjunction with the city. And we've processed an initial study mitigated neg deck. And so it went to the state clearinghouse in January, and it was circulated for the mandatory time plus some. And with that, there was some, just to let you know, there was some dialogue with the tribes. So when we do the circulation and the notice for that, it gives this period where you have to notice the tribes and then have negotiations with them that they're being heard and that we're addressing some of their concerns. And so with that, we worked through some of the terms in there with the Native American tribal consultation, where we're trying to protect the city as much as possible, but also recognize their concerns, where with the recent levee project, improvement project with Sabufka, there's multiple historical locations that have been disturbed, and so we've put in place some mitigation measures where there's specific trainings and certain staff that need to be in place should certain things be found or in certain instances that we've put into this document. So mitigation measures addressing all comments and concerns are incorporated into the project and the final initial study mitigating neg deck. The project will not, it's been determined that the project will not result in any significant impacts to the environment through the inclusion of appropriate avoidance minimization. So really the alternative, there's not much of an alternative. The alternative is to kick it back and change it. But really, if you want to move this project forward, it needs to have the CEQA document approved, so that way we can work into those final specifications, final design parameters to incorporate this, and then also look for those grant opportunities to find money for a project that's in the $35 to $40 million range. And so with that, our recommendation tonight is to adopt a resolution adopting the initial study mitigated negative declaration for Yuba City Wastewater Treatment Facility Outfall Diffuser Project, Environmental Assessment 21-04. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Moody. Any questions from the council?
Through the mayor, I think that this is a really critical piece of the opportunity for future funding on the diffuser. As the tour that we went on Friday, and we'll talk probably a little bit more towards the end on this. So just for clarity of my own mind, when the bridge was built, you know, some of the CEQA requirements are pretty identical within some of that work for the bridge, and where Native American tribal, there were mitigated areas that needed to be mitigated at that time. So is that the same process? And we went through that with this particular report and study to get to approve at this point?
Very similar. You know, I would say with the levee project and a lot of the discoveries that were found, and then working with the tribes, that there was lessons learned for both the agency and for the tribes. And then also as we've been working with the tribe over the last 5-6 years on how they like to handle, you know, the situation once things may occur, that we're able to take on these mitigation measures and put the measures in place beforehand, so it doesn't affect the project where we're going to come to a halt, then figure it out later.
Exactly, because that's what tends to hold up sometimes the process of the approval for the permitting, because of those unresolved issues within, with rightly so, you know, to be completely you know, considerate and responsible to do that as a community. But if we covered all these areas, then it seems an appropriate time to get ahead of the opportunity to possibly receive some funds. And I applaud, because this is a job that's been working, you Diana, team has been working on this for quite a while. So quite an investment for us as a city to invest on this front loading before even the construction of the diffuser or any other water items. So very impressed.
Any other comments from the council? None?
No.
Okay. Mr. Moody, thank you. While you went through a whole lot of stuff with the mitigation that we have to do, don't mean this as it was easy, because you're coordinating a lot, but there's nowhere in this valley that we can't dig that we're not possibly disturbing the Native Americans. So I appreciate you jumping through all of those hoops, and you expressed on Friday all the different organizations you guys have had to deal with. So just want to express my appreciation. So with that, open it up for comments from the public. Any comments from the public? Any online?
No comments.
All right, then I will bring it back to the council for further questions or action.
Through the mayor, I move that we adopt, if there's no further conversation on this, respectfully with the rest of my colleagues. Okay. Adopt a resolution adopting the initial study mitigated negative declaration for the Yuba City Wastewater Treatment Outfall Diffuser Project Environmental Assessment EA 21-04. I read it just in case you wanted it on record there, Mr. City Attorney.
I have a motion by Council Member Espandola. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Boomgard. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you again, Mr. Moody. And now we'll go to agenda item 12, the Senate Bill 9, an accessory dwelling unit ordinance adoption and establishing fees for urban lot splits. Are you doing this one?
Okay, so this is the second part in the two-part process. I didn't catch it.
Oh, just wondering if who was presenting was correct on here, so go for it.
So the SB 9, one of my favorite subjects, and urban lots, ADUs. And so the item before you, we're trying to finalize amending the municipal code to address state law regarding SB 9 and ADUs. And so this is the second part where the item was previously introduced. And then tonight it's really for consider for adoption as proposed. And so one of the questions that came up last time, which was good, and it created some debate and some coordination back and forth with the fire department, is that we wanted to make sure that there's no conflicts with the fire code and how and what it looks like. And so we confirmed with the chief building official, we worked with the fire marshal, and then we reviewed both specs and both documents to make sure they were in a good spot. And so with this ordinance, proposed ordinance, the way there's basically a loophole for existing. So if you have a property, I wouldn't say it's a loophole, but it's what the law is that if you have an existing residential property that's not sprinklered and you build an ADU or a junior ADU, it does not have to be sprinkled. It still needs to meet all of the current building code standards regarding health, safety, noise insulation, standards applicable at the time the building permit is pulled. But regarding the fire sprinklers, they do not have to have them if the existing residence does not. However, if you do an urban lot split, so if somebody came in and put a split, split the back 40% off and wanted to build a new home, then they would be required to follow current code, which would then require fire sprinklers for the new unit. And so that is where you would see, if with this new unit, it would be most likely utilizing the reduced setbacks. You would get fire sprinklers in that location. But if they build an ADU back here with an existing home that doesn't have sprinklers, they would not. And so we went through it. There's definitely still applicable fire codes regarding they need a water supply, and that there's some access requirements in the fire code to make sure that they would be looked at, depending on what's proposed as far as with can it be accessed within 150 feet and can be accessed at a certain width. So that is really the big item that I wanted to provide additional information from our last meeting, and I'm happy to go into detail any of the specifics that were talked about last time. And so with that, I'm recommending you conduct a public hearing for consideration of establishing, here's a big one. I forgot about the fee. So back up here. And so with this, last time we talked specifically about the ADU and the SB9 municipal code, but I wanted to talk about how we're paying for it. And so what we're doing, I think I have a slide in here I passed. It was in the staff report, I think, briefly. But what we did is, how are we going to pay for this? It's a new process, and so with that, we wanted to reflect some of staff's time and the cost for it. In the city's municipal code, there's a requirement to be recovered, 100% recoverable on those costs. And so when you look at it, I did analyze the time that it takes to come in over the counter for the certain staff to process it, and then to look at it, and then similar processes that we have in place, which is real similar to the lot line adjustment, and it came in real close to what I would expect for an average of the time that that would be spent to recover additional costs on an item. And so at this time, I recommend that we create a new fee on the fee schedule that is for urban lot splits, and it aligns with our current lot line adjustment cost. And so, gosh, I was hoping it was in here. I think it's in the staff report, it's in the $800 range. $877.
Yeah, slide please. Went by, did say it.
Oh, there it is. So in order to establish the fee, we have to have a public hearing, have to have received comment on it, and then with recommendation to add it to the fee schedule with an inflator on it. And so that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions on that.
Any questions from the council?
Through the mayor, on the fire sprinkler, imagine that. I know the ordinance doesn't require it, but we could amend the ordinance
So there was discussion on that. And so through the discussion, it didn't come across from the fire department that there was an immediate need to address that with the new building codes, with the new urban lot splits being required to have the water, the number that we're having. And then a little bit of the discussion we talked about was that it might get real complicated because it's a state law to match that. And so to overstate that, you'd probably have to look into finding, I didn't vet the entire process with basically without the direction to move forward to do that. But it's possible is my understanding, but it might be complicated.
I know the process all too well. It would be complicated. However, the access issues to these ADUs and what's going to go on back there, I think places people at an increased risk. I'll follow up. And I mean, I'm not here to tell you to do anything at this point. It interests me that we're going to increase density and we're going to place units in the rear yards where it's going to be difficult to get back there, and time is of the essence, and a sprinkler system actually could save a life. So I'll follow up. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Mr. Moody, I share the same concerns. I was going to ask something very similar. With the state being so focused on trying to get housing density and affordable housing, it seems like that might put more of our residents at risk if something was to happen in a very close proximity with limited access. So I would be encouraged to see somewhere down the line how we can keep our public safe, because it's words I'm looking for is, a lot of times the state and the national governments will cast a big net and they don't really realize what they catch with that big net. But I think it's a concern myself. So any other comments from the council before we open up the public hearing?
Yeah, I would just reiterate, I don't want to speak on behalf of the fire department's behalf. There was some discussion, there was some talk about what the state law is and can you supersede that? And then as Councilman Boomgarden discussed, there is quite the process if the findings are determined. And then also what the current building codes are as far as if there's sufficiency. We do have commercial and apartment complexes, depending on how they're built. Maybe there's other options that we could look at. And it's really at council's discretion. We could look at that and move forward.
All right, thank you. All right, with that, we will, the public hearing on Senate Bill 9, accessory dwelling unit ordinance adoption and establishing fees for urban lot splits is now open. If there are any members of the public who wish to address the council on this issue, please provide your statement via public comment. State your name and address for the record. Do we have any comments from the public? Any comments from the public? Any comments online?
No comments.
Okay. Hearing no further comments on this issue, I am closing the public hearing and bringing this matter back to council. Questions or actions?
I'll make it through the mayor.
Yes, sir.
Still struggling with my voice. I'd like to introduce a motion to adopt a resolution establishing an urban lot split fee. Then item C, adopt an ordinance to update the Yuba City Municipal Code to establish regulations for urban lot splits and 2-unit developments in accordance with Senate Bill 9, and adopt amendments to regulations of accessory dwelling units and junior accessory dwelling units by title only and waive the second reading.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Boomgarden and a second by Councilmember Espandola. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. We will now move to agenda item 13, and thank you, Mr. Moody. Police Services Analyst position in the Police Department and Rules and Regulations Amendment. And it says that Miss Springer is going to be here, but Chief, you don't look like Natalie. Thank you for being here.
Miss Springer will not be here this evening. She's been under the weather, so acting this solo tonight. Evening, Mayor and council members. Tonight before you, we have a request from the Police Department to add a Police Services Analyst position. Several years ago, there was a position.
Chief, Could you check the mic or speak into the mic?
Now the mic is on.
There we go.
Sorry about that. Several years ago, the police department brought on a part-time employee to assist actually me at the time when I was our department's training manager as a lieutenant to assist with the kind of the travel agent end of things, of booking hotels, booking the classes, that type of thing. And we had some limited videos and things of that nature that needed to be copied and sent to the DA's office when cases were sent to them. Over time, our legislators down in Sacramento have created several new laws that have created a greater demand for the redaction of audio and video recordings, and our RIPA program. And also this position is somewhat morphed into gathering data for administrative investigations that we conduct within the police department, both of that are conducted by external sources as well as our internal folks as well. Some of those legislative mandates are SB 1421, that's the release of certain peace officer records as it pertains to misconduct. SB 2, which comes into effect next January, that's regarding the decertification of police officers. That law is very confusing as the Commission on Peace Officer Standards and Training is still trying to figure out the true definition of what is serious misconduct. And so there's a lot of dangling questions out there as to what that's going to entail and what that's going to require of organizations. And AB 748 is the Audio and Video Disclosure Act. And that states that certain pieces of audio and video material need to be released within a 30-day time period of a specified list of actions made by police officers, including serious bodily injury of unarmed folks and a variety of things. Along with the legislative mandates, POST, that's who certifies police officers and certifies courses for police officers in the state of California. We used to have certain perishable skills such as firearms and tactical communication, arrest and control. Those courses would be updated sometimes every 2 to 5 years. Now with the changes in laws as relates to the use of force, which is, with the implementation of de-escalation and trying to talk our way out of situations and gain compliance through communication rather than going hands-on with folks. So those things are required to be modified annually now by POST. So this position that we're looking for will take over basically the day-to-day operations of being the department's training manager. And that role is currently being handled by Commander Eschman. And it's not a good use of police mid-manager's time to be doing these types of things. For reference, since January of 2020, this part-time employee in this position has received about $88,000 in reimbursement from POST for trainings we've sent our folks to. So that's a pretty substantial number. So the reason this is coming outside of the budget process, I was in talks with City Manager Vaughn when he was still here about this. Unfortunately, with the COVID outbreak that we had in January across the city, HR they were taxed, and they've been helping us out with this project, and so it kind of had to fall to the bottom of the pile a little bit. But what we're faced with now is our part-time person is their hours are going to run out before the end of the fiscal year due to the workload. They've had to work more, and we basically need the position. It's not something that is nice to have. It's something that we need as an organization to keep things going and processes moving within the organization. So this is the part that Ms. Springer was going to speak on, so I will try and muddle my way through this. So this is the rules and regulations amendment piece to this. For many years, the city has had qualified and well-trained employees that have maintained roles as temporary and or part-time employees. And for a long time, they haven't been able to apply for jobs that are either internal city recruitments or internal department recruitments because they didn't have a, quote, full-time status. And so what this rules and regulations amendment will do will allow those folks that have been in these positions for at least 1 year and that we've already invested time, money, and training into to be able to apply for internal recruitment jobs. And they have to be currently employed by the city for over a year. They have to still meet the minimum qualifications of the position. Nothing changes there. And they'll be able to apply for those internal and department recruitments as well. So the fiscal impact. Currently, we have a vacant, unfilled community service officer position within the police department that we will not be filling for the rest of the fiscal 21-22 year or the 22-23 fiscal year. We will be eliminating a part-time position. So we have about $116,000 that's allocated in the budget already. And the pay for this position is, as you can see on the slide, $102,700. So there's no need for additional funding this particular year. I will note that in the staff report and then in the resolution, there's a discrepancy in the pay scale. The pay scale in the resolution is the correct one, not the one in the staff report, for just clarification purposes. So the alternatives are to not approve the recommended position, do not approve the rules and regulations amendment, and provide city staff with direction. So it's the recommendation that we adopt a resolution to amend the rules and regulations providing for temporary extra help employees to apply for internal recruitments, amend the police department personnel summary, adding the classification of police services analyst, and a corresponding change to the publicly available salary schedule. With that, I'll take any questions that the council may have.
Chief. Chief, I do have one question, just for clarification before I go to the council. Earlier, you said Commander Eschman was doing a lot of these duties. With this, you would be shifting those off the commander to the person that would be full-time then, correct?
Yes, it's just one more thing that this person, the part-time position is filling part of those duties, but as far as the post and the management of the technical piece of it, that's what Commander Eschman's been doing because he's been the training manager for a couple of years. And so that'll be shifted to that person for him to focus on other efforts.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions from the council?
Through the mayor, Chief, I just wanted to, the post amount, the 88,000 change, a few dollars.
Yes, ma'am.
Was that a reimbursement from the post to the city? Is that?
Yes.
I understand that.
Yes. So the post has varying, kind of the Reader's Digest version. They have varying levels of reimbursement. So any skill that is required typically per legislative mandate or training, like firearms certification or for instructor courses for defensive tactics, tactical communication, specialized investigative courses for the folks in our investigations unit. Those are reimbursed at a very high level. The state gives us about call it $50 a day for per diem, and then about $120 a day for lodging. So basically what the city's out in some of those courses is just the staff time to attend those courses. So getting that money back is a big thing for us as an organization.
Would you consider, as you know, because you've kind of offered different ways to fund this position with eliminating the CSO, would you utilize perhaps some of those funds, that reimbursement for post, to fund this position in the future, and then work towards getting another community service officer on the streets as well?
Yes, the way the reimbursement works is that the city expends the funds through a training account that's assigned to our patrol budget, and then that fund just gets reimbursed from post. So there's really, it's kind of a break-even thing. The city doesn't make the money; we just get reimbursed for what we spent.
What we spent out. So I'm just trying to find a way that maybe we could. I was hoping to find a way for both.
Wait, alternative D, just let us have it without giving up the CSO position.
Well, I mean, it takes all of us to figure that out, but I'm just looking at, because you're thinking, well, the CSO won't be there, but this other position, because, you have a high level mid-manager doing this kind of work where it really needs to be placed with someone else's in their tasks, their functions, right? I see what you're trying to, and because of all the new requirements on top of that, I find value in both. That's what I'm saying to you. And if there's a way for you to consider finding funding for that, I'd be happy to learn more about that.
Thank you.
Mm.
Any other questions from council?
Just a comment. Is there a way that we can find funding for that? That's what I would like to do. And instead of putting it on the chief, if we have a way to add it to his budget, if think outside the box a little bit, or I don't know if it's time sensitive or not, but I would be willing to look into that as well.
I'd be happy to be part of that conversation with you to find the funding for both.
And actually, to answer both your questions, we are in budget season and we have a budget ad hoc committee. So that's where that belongs. So they can look at that as they're walking through that, because all the departments will be bringing forward as part of the budget process with the ad hoc what their future needs are. So I think that we can send that message very loudly to our ad hoc, which is on my right and left, to do what you can do. I know 3 of us have sat in those seats over the past 3 years, and we know that there's a lot of things that go on, but if they can find that and make it happen, I think all of us would love to do that, but we're going to send 2 of our team members to try to see what you guys can come up with.
Well, I just want to reiterate that I think both are extremely valuable. I mean, one is a necessity because, we have outside requirements to meet legality issues, and you're trying to best utilize your team and the function of their work, right? And so I would think it would be a tremendous loss not to have a community service officer filled. Vice Mayor Krishner, Councilman Boomgarden, I hope that you can find funding for both and make that recommendation to us when we review those budgets.
All right. Any other comments from the council? Questions? All right, let's go to the public. Any questions or comments from the public? Questions or comments from the public? Online?
No comments.
All right, then I will bring it back to the council for action.
Through the mayor.
Vice Mayor.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing to amend the rules and regulations, providing for temporary extra help employees to have the ability to apply for internal recruitment, and to amend the police department personnel summary, adding the classification of police service analyst, and make a corresponding change to the publicly available salary schedule.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Through the mayor.
Yes, sir.
Before do we need to note the change in the salary to reflect that which was in the resolution versus the staff report?
We should be fine because it's in the resolution, which is being adopted.
Okay. I have a first from the Vice Mayor and a second from Councilmember Harris. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
We'll move to agenda item 14, the Water Treatment Plant Operator 3 limited term position. Okay, now we're changing. So, Philip Marler, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. I'm Philip Marler, Deputy Public Works Director, Utilities. An item before you is the Water Treatment Plant Operator 3 limited term position. Our plant requires operators to hold a Water Treatment 3 certificate at a minimum to go onto a shift. We've had difficulty recruiting Operator 3s and have underfilled vacant positions with Operator 2s in the past. Our upcoming issue is that 3 long-term operators are eligible for retirement. The proposed solution is to overstaff the water treatment plant with a limited term position to avoid staffing issues. The position proposed to be budgeted for 3 years and initially be underfilled by the Operator 2. The 3-year time limit allows enough time to obtain the minimum qualifications for an Operator 3 and to work on capturing some institutional knowledge. The Public Employees Union Local 1 has requested through a side letter that to represent the limited term position and that the incumbent be appointed to a vacancy during their term. I also wanted to make note as well too, that it took 4 different groups to come together to organize and make this position so we can be proactive and not reactive in the future. Also, we have a certification list for an Operator 2-3 position that's still good until January 3, which is with the urgency of the operators and the expiration of that is why we're not going through the budget process. Fiscal Impact would go to account 7120, water treatment plant, with an estimated total cost of $324,500. We're requesting supplemental appropriation of $40,000 for fiscal year 21-22. And as I said before, it's budgeted as an operator treatment plant 3 position, but it will be underfilled with an operator 2 until they meet minimum qualifications. The recommendation, A, is to adopt the resolution approving 1 limited term water treatment plant operator 3 limited term position in the Public Works Department for a period not to exceed 3 years, and authorize the finance director to make budget adjustments as necessary in approving a side letter with the Public Employees Local 1 regarding the representation of the water treatment plant operator 3 limited term position. B, also to authorize a supplemental appropriation and related transfers in the amount of $40,000 from the unallocated water funds to account number 7120, the water treatment plant operating budget for fiscal year 21-22. Salary and benefits for the water treatment plant operator 3 limited term position. This time I'll answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions or comments from the council?
You're the mayor. I just want to say to Phil, this is your first time here with us, man, and you're doing good.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're doing really well. I think it's great that you sat down with all 4 different parties to try to come up with some solution, because this is really a challenge across the state and really across the nation to find really good operators, right? And if we can, grow within, as we were just talking about policing, would be just a phenomenal thing to do. And if we have an agreement with the, Public Employees Local 1 aside, that's awesome, right? You've kind of knocked some barriers for us to have to. It's really hard to say no to this because you've done all the really good work. And water treatment, it's coming out of the funding of the fees within the water treatment plant. So you've done a really good job of putting this together. So I really appreciate your work.
Any other questions or comments from the council? Okay. The only comment that I would add, Philip, is just for the general public, that the $40,000 you're asking for is not coming from the general fund. It's from our water money already. So it's not taking away from anything else. So with that, I will open it up for questions and comments from the public.
Just a quick question, Phil. So are you going to be able to hire retirees that have left us that are 3s or come back and backfill us till we get somebody certified to be a 3?
This position currently is internally. That's why I said we had the existing certification list.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Any other questions or comments? As a reminder, Mr. Cardozo, we know who you are, but please always state your name. Thank you. Any other comments online?
No comments.
All right. Hearing none, I will bring it back to the council for action.
To the mayor.
Yes, sir.
Move to adopt resolution approving 1 limited term water treatment plant operator 3 limited term position in the Public Works Department for a period not to exceed 3 years, and approving a side letter with Public Employees Local 1 regarding the representation of the water treatment plant operator 3 limited term employee, and authorize a supplemental appropriation related transfers in the amount of $40,000 from unallocated water funds to account number 7120 water treatment plant operating budget for fiscal year 21-22 salary and benefits for the water treatment plant operator 3 limited term position.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Councilmember Espandola. All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you, sir. All right, we'll move to agenda item 15. Just looking to see who I have at the podium. So electrical instrumentation supervisor salary schedule. Mr. Moody, you have the floor again, please.
Okay, so good evening. New item here. And so this item really is logistical. And so it was the setup in the budget was set with the adoption of the fiscal year 21-22 budget. And so what I'm doing what's coming before you is really logistical measures in order to establish the salary schedule and then be able to move forward with the recruitment. And so with that brief overview, the electrical instrumentation division, it was set up currently in the budget. There's 2 electrical technicians, 1 instrumentation technician, and then 1 extra part-time help electrical technician. So these guys are really our rock stars behind the scenes. They're keeping 2 plants, 2 serious heavy-duty industrial plants at the water treatment plant, the wastewater plant, and then also everything you see on the road, from street lights to the traffic signals, and then everything in between with facilities. And so these guys are running around making things happen. And then with the instrument technician position, they're doing a lot of the SCADA, the programming, and everything to keep that water and sewer, those pumps, and the remote access coordinated and operated. And so there's a lot going on there with a lot of highly specialized skills. And so through that budget, we set up the need for an electrical supervisor, somebody that's really technical, specific, and then could coordinate those functions. And so through that budget, we established it. So since that time, we've looked into the comparables, looked at what the city's trying to set the bar of 15% for a first level manager above the first line electricians. And so with that, we've come to a value that we think is within that median range of the region. And then also matches our set 15% above the electrical technician. So we're not right at median. That's really point in time that's going to be updated with some other citywide measures in the future potentially. But with where we're at now, we're recommending to set the salary schedule at 15% of electrical above the electrical technician 3 position. And then with that, there's a required side letter with the first level managers, because this is a new position and they're going to be entering into that group, and it establishes that they're part of that group. And then there's also some language in there cleaning up some other items. So we decided to tackle them at the same time. So fiscal impact, $149,800 annually. So that's worst case. I think they look at that cost fully burdened at the top step. And so depending on who comes in and how it works out, that number fluctuates a little bit. Really, the breakout is important. They're looking at how it's broke out between the water fund, the wastewater fund, and the general fund. And so it's key because a lot of the workload really comes from wastewater and water. And so the 10% is what you'll see. This kind of is an estimate. That's the impact of the general fund on the general facilities in the city. So this is the good news. Even though it is an impact, it is $1,200 less than the budget amount. And so there's not an increase in the budgeted amount for that. So with that, I'm recommending A and B, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Moody. Any questions from the council? All right, hearing none. Any questions or comments from the public? Any questions or comments from the public? Any online?
No comments.
Bring it back to the council for action.
Through the mayor, I move that we adopt a resolution authorizing the finance director to amend the salary to reflect the addition of the electrical instrumentation supervisor position with the Public Works Department, and approving a side letter with the first level managers group, and authorize the finance director to make a budget adjustment as necessary.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilwoman Espandola and a second from the vice mayor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Going to agenda item 16, building inspection compensation adjustments. Mr. Moody, you're still on point.
So thank you for the patience with me, and so as I work through these tonight, so this item, it's an important item for me, and I'll get into it here in a minute, because it's really trying to set the stage for retirements and prepping for growth that we see coming on the horizon, and then working for recruitments and setting that bar. And so with this item, I'm looking at the building inspector pay. And so I have two building inspectors. One is relatively new. He has just over a year of experience in working on his credentials as a building inspector 1. And I have a building inspector 2 that is a long-term employee between part-time time and then the recently 6 years of time. And then also he has a background in different agencies. And so he's given me his notice of retirement effective late summer. And then with that, there's some time that he's going to take some vacations that he's always planned, in the mix and kind of working through some things. And so September is approaching soon. And so, 6 months away to have a long-term employee that's qualified to look at that commercial work, existing knowledge on the city and how that works. That's their institutional knowledge that the concerns are going to be lost. And then you add in 300 to 400 houses that are about ready to pop this summer. The need, the desire to overfill for as much time as possible, because when we go through the recruitment process, it's very difficult to recruit for these individuals right now because of the demand in the industry and from other departments. And so recognizing that there's going to be a long recruitment process and then an onboarding process, and trying to get as much time as possible to work with our building inspector to gain some of that institutional knowledge before he goes. And so looking at the salaries, it's really, I'm bringing this now instead of through the budget process, because I do not think we'll have a viable recruitment unless we work to adjust the salary now and then release the recruitment. And so if the recruitment process, we need to wait through the summer, that's definitely an option, and the city can do that and backfill with consultants. But with that, I'll make a recommendation here. So compensation. To be blunt, it's really, when you get in the weeds, it gets tricky because we have point in time studies from 2021 that showed different numbers, and you're looking at different setups across agencies where it's, with the city, we have a 1-2 model, where other agencies have a 1-2-3 model, or they have a 1-2 senior model. And so we're really looking at the qualifications and how those reflect at the top step of our inspector that has specialized commercial certifications and specific residential certifications, and then the experience and how those went across the agencies. And then in addition, 2021, it seems like a lifetime ago, with inflation and with the building industry, what other agencies are having to do, with Yuba County having to do incentives and different pay raises in order to attract people to this area. And so where I landed, and then additionally, we did really just a spot and time check where we looked at, so we had the 2021 full compensation survey that showed us under, and then we did a spot check just regionally to kind of say, hey, is that real, or how's that look if you just look at the base salary? And so really through both of those, it really led us to a number that 20% is where we're at, just to bring it up close to the median. And so it's a big number. It's a big jump, but I think it's warranted in order to get to a level that you're competing for this industry that's in demand. And so what that does is it also sets up, it creates, so what we're recommending is based off the building inspector 2, a 20% jump, and then it works down through the steps where there's a 15% gap between the 1 and 2. And that's to reflect the experience and the certifications to get to that 2 level. And so it's an impact. And so $28,000 a year, it might not be immediate because depending on how that person, there will be immediate costs with the building inspector 1 jumping up, and then who we recruit and how we recruit, at what level they come in. But that's really the worst case, and then going forward with inflation as to how it is. So with that, I'm happy to introduce any questions. Please ask me any questions on it.
Thank you, Mr. Moody. I think you were about ready to introduce a motion there,
Too
weren't
long.
you?
I got too many. Yeah.
All right. Any questions from the council? All right. Hearing none. Any questions from the public? Comments from the public? Any online?
No comments.
All right. Then we'll bring it back to the council for action.
Through the mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the finance director to amend the salary schedule to reflect compensation adjustments to the building inspector classifications within the department services department. And also to authorize the finance director to make budget adjustments as necessary.
Second.
I have a motion and I have a second. Councilmember Harris. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Mr. Moody, thank you for your long duration at the podium tonight. So, all right, let's move on to agenda item 17, future agenda items. This is the opportunity for us to discuss with the city manager about items that came up tonight that we want to see brought back at a future meeting. Is there any from the council tonight? Okay.
Never mind. I don't think it's for us.
Okay. Thank you. All right, then we'll move on to item 18, our city manager's report.
Mayor, as you stated earlier, we are in budget time. The capital improvement program requests were due today, and the operational budget requests are due next week. Mid-April, we will be meeting with the ad hoc committee to go over the budget requests. And one thing I just want to reiterate, we've mentioned it before, if there are different organizations that are going to be requesting funds from the city, they need to get the applications in as soon as possible so that they can be considered as part of the budget process. The other thing to report is last week, LAFCO approved an annexation for an area located south of Bogue Road, north of Stewart, west of Gilsizer, east of Walton. And it's a very exciting time for Yuba City as we continue to have these annexations that are approved. But as the city attorney and I were talking this afternoon, what this triggers is we will need to modify the district maps. So we just finished that process, but we will be bringing back to council as to these newly annexed areas, how they get added to the districting maps. So I see looks of surprises on your face, but that's the exciting part of annexations, right? It's ever changing. The other thing is at the upcoming meeting in April, the first meeting, the Feather River West Levee Financing Authority will be doing a presentation on their proposed assessment for the levee maintenance. So I encourage folks to watch that if they can't be here personally. And then a couple of other things. We have the homeless workshop scheduled for March 29th, and there will be no council meeting on May 3rd as 3 of the council members are participating in Cap to Cap. So thank you.
Thank you. I just have kind of a sarcastic question about districting because the land you're talking is mostly orchards. So do squirrels and rabbits count in the redistricting process or?
Only if they're registered to vote.
Right.
Gotcha. But this isn't Chicago.
Yeah. Well, what's important is there are some homes in those areas. And as we have proposed subdivisions, it's going to be important for those folks to know which district that they will be moving into. One other note is that George Barlow is working on a utility flyer related to districting, which will be an insert to the utility bill as well as posted on the website and distributed through social media. And it's a lot of frequently asked questions and then also specifics to the 2022 election. As I mentioned at the previous council meeting, there are 2 districts that will not have elections for city council as part of this election. And so we want to get information out there because we expect to have a lot of questions about what's happening.
Thank you. All right, let's move to council reports. We'll start with Councilmember Harris.
Real quick and easy for me the last 2 weeks. As far as boards and commissions go, Gilsizer happened to be canceled. And then for Sabufka, primary thing was the authorization for staff to proceed in seeking grant funding for the Lower Feather River West Levee Repair Project, which is the section between Highway 99 and the Sutter Bypass. That was the main thing that we approved. Of course, we're going to talk about the tour with DBWR and the wonderful lunch we had with them in Aqua and others down at Montana Farms. I'm not going to steal Councilwoman Espinola's thunder on that, nor will I steal any further thunder from our chair of Sabufka, who is our vice mayor. So that was pretty much it. In addition to other meetings, I know we had a good meeting with George and our city manager regarding social media and whatnot, and I think it was quite productive and looking forward to some things there. That's it for me.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Boomgard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, again, Diana, congratulations on the Athena Award. I know that you're not one that seeks these things out, but these things seek you, and well deserved, and very happy and that you got it. Very proud to work with you. So enough said on that. LAFCO, as the city manager mentioned, about 135 acres came into the city uncontested, which is nice. Those kinds of LAFCO annexations are always pleasant. Also at that LAFCO meeting was the introduction of the Municipal Services Review for Fire. And I'll be honest and blunt, this is probably one of the most challenging things that I've been involved in as far as reports coming from consultants on service reviews for LAFCO. I was appointed along with Supervisor Conant and our vice chair from LAFCO, Rupinder Jawanda, to sit on an ad hoc committee to try to coordinate a little bit more about what this municipal services review and the sphere of influence pieces that are going with that. So more to come. It is an important study as it relates, as I've mentioned to you before, the interrelation between the fire service providers in the county and the city of Yuba City. RHA, Regional Housing Authority, real quick meeting that day. We did hear about the Family Self-Sufficiency Program. I know Councilman Harris is familiar with that as well, and others may be as well. This is a neat program that the Housing Authority facilitates, takes individuals and sort of takes them from not really having housing and being self-sufficient to self-sufficiency. And my first meeting, we awarded a person that, and there are something like 100 people in this program, which is an excellent conduit for folks who are struggling to live in a house. This gets them a leg up on that, which I think is great. Buckeye Parade, congratulations to Marysville. Had a good time, no casualties, no one fell out of the truck, no one fell off the scooter. We had a good time, and really that's it. I will say that it went to the Government Affairs Committee along with you, Mr. Mayor, and our city manager. This West Feather River, they called it FWFLA or something anyway, more acronyms. This is an important thing, and I really do second city manager's advice. You need to pay attention to this one. This is not to construct levees. This is to take the levees that we have constructed and maintain them so that we don't lose that 200-year flood protection. So there is a lot of information that I think will be valuable to pay attention to as this comes forward. Thank you.
All right, Councilwoman Espindola.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilmember Boomgarden, for all that update on the GAC and all, and also with the Housing Authority. It's quite gratifying to see families move from conditions that are really difficult into housing and the support. So I'm glad that both of you, Councilmember Harris, are on that work together. As Councilman Harris said, Gil Zeiser was council. I can't even say it. Didn't happen. I'll say it that way. Then Regional Water Authority, we had a meeting. Diana and I joined in. It was quite a long conversation, but I think the highlight points, as many of you now know, Jim Pfeiffer, which is the executive director, the drought conditions are quite deep in discussion, and how the region, Sacramento Valley, our area, is fortunate to be in better conditions, but yet other parts of our state are really in dire situations. And so that, I think I'll highlight that piece mostly. And then our city of Yuba City, as many of you know, I'm a big fan of women in lots of ways. And with our city manager being recognized again, it's just such an honor to work with you and to be part of that celebration. We hosted a brunch for our women in Yuba City, and it was just beautiful. It was uniting. It was supportive. It was the energy was just great, and I appreciate the fact that we've all taken this on together and really just highlighting the talents within our women, and then also how much I feel support from many men and mentors along the way. So thank you so much for that work. We had an opportunity to tour with the State Water Resource Control Board, which was quite a journey to put together in the last several months. And we did the tour on last Friday, believe it or not. And we had the chair, Joaquin Esqualil, I can never say his last name, sorry. And then the vice chair, Didi Diamo, join us with our city staff, with the mayor, with the entire council, with our public works utilities team. We did it within, I'll clarify, Brown Act rules. So let's just get that one out of the way. And what we did is we toured the facilities. We went to the water treatment, and Phil's team, fantastic, amazing team, showed us around. We looked at the aquifer storage recovery area, where we're hoping to receive like a $6.5 million grant that we've already submitted to DWR, which is a great opportunity, which I'm fingers crossed, I believe we'll get there. And then from there, we ended up seeing a video of both places, and then ended up going to having a presentation by Kevin Bradford, who is also our other deputy, two of our high mid-level managers who participated with their teams, and we ended up touring the diffuser that was discussed earlier to see the conditions and how challenging those are, and which personally for me, it was quite a growth of learning on how that diffuser impacts our community in many ways, and then kind of summarized it all with the rest of our group and Matna Farms, and how the city and urban area connects to agriculture, and then from agriculture, what is the recycling water conservation work that they do there. And all of that I think will benefit fruitful for our city in many ways. One is that Aqua was there with the Association of California Water Agency, and they're going to feature us in a lot of the statewide presentations on the work that we're doing here as a city. And with the Regional Water Authority, they are also helping bring the word and forward to DWR. And we are also working with Senator Nielsen in helping gain some potential funding as well within the ASR to get there for our needs and infrastructure. So it was a day of complete gratitude for me, and tremendous pride to know that we have such good people that work in our water and wastewater, and how committed everyone was. And I cannot say that without the council support, gentlemen, I thank you so much for being present. Thankful, just present and really just showing up and supporting these large projects that will help our city for hopefully the next 10 to 15 to 20 years. Some of the things that were kind of more the fun side as well, I thought the tour was the funnest for me for lots of reasons, because I'm a geek that wants to think I'm a geek, but I'm not that nerdy. I'm just like the idea I am. But the Buckeye Parade, we went to the hostess reception dinner, not a dinner, it was a reception. It was really great to be together in Marysville, and Marysville always does such a fantastic job. And the parade, Mark had his scooter, and our mayor had the truck, and gentlemen were in the back, and I was just kind of walking in the front with our youth commissioners, which I'll just leave it there. And but it was great. It was great to be together and hand out some flags and some candies, just handing them. The other part was going to the lip sync for Shady Creek Foundation, supporting a program that is, touches so many young children's lives, and being part of that was really important. But I just want to state that I see the commitment and pride and loyalty from our staff and our council, and I'm thankful for all the work that we do together. So thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As which was discussed earlier, we attended Sabufka this past month, and DWR has committed to $4 million towards the design and permit engineering of the area in South Sutter County at question, with Sabufka looking for revenue sources for the balance of that. We're still waiting to hear from Councilman Senator Nelson and Assemblyman Gallagher on the possibility of getting $10 million to clean up the balance of the channel at the mouth of the Yuba River. Mosquito vector is hit with issues from COVID, in this case being a shortage of supply of insecticide from their supply chain in China. What this looks like is they're scrambling to have enough material to get them through August. And so we voted for and approved an additional $100,000 towards that. Initially, they were budgeted for $970, but unfortunately with the lack of inventory, the price goes up. And so they're looking at how to address that. In addition to that, they're looking at repaving their facility out on Bogue Road. But like I said earlier, the price of everything has gone up recently. And so we voted for and approved $284,000 towards that end. In Pike County Homeless GPA, I attended a Zoom meeting on that, and a lot of exciting things happening with them. In the Cedar Lane area, which I believe is in Linda or Olivehurst, one of the two, they're looking at opening up a 108 unit facility for low income. These are 1 and 2, 3 bedroom apartments. A total of 108 that will be online in July. Also in July in the same neighborhood, there'll be 41 permitted homes. So a lot of exciting. And in addition to that, also in Marysville, in January 2023, they're looking at 71 unit apartments, 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments in the East Lake apartment complex. So a lot of exciting things happening in Pike County Homeless. Then lastly, the mayor and I attended the Intergovernmental Relations Committee, which I'll touch on briefly because I know he wants to talk about it. Lots of exciting things going on with that. We're looking at the real possibility of a temporary and then more of a permanent overnight parking for homeless to address that issue. A lot of things that were touched on, like the Fremont facility and the possibility of facilitating that. But again, I'll let the mayor go more into detail with that. Lastly, this evening, I attended a promotion at the police department for Caitlin Snyder, who was promoted from dispatcher 2 to dispatcher 3. Did I get that right?
Yes.
And it's nice to see talent get recognized in our city. And that's what I've got.
Thank you. Amazingly, it's been a busy couple of weeks for me. We've crammed a lot of things in over the last couple of weeks. So I'll start with the things that's been going on, the IRC, as I call it. And it's not because it irks me, but sometimes it does. But the IRC, that's the Intergovernmental Relations. As the vice mayor said, we focus on the things that ourselves and the county is mutually facing. One of the problems that we have, which will be hopefully coming towards council in the weeks ahead, is, as the vice mayor said, a temporary facility to be able to move the motorhomes and stuff at night off the streets and off the parking lot. So I have a dedicated space. Ellie has needed that for quite some time. We're working on the finishing touches of that. And the initial is looking at being it's temporary, but it's basically a trial run to put this thing together, because we need to see exactly how many people this affects to give us an assessment of where we're going forward before we come back before the council with numbers that are hundreds of thousands of dollars to stand up a facility that maybe 3 people is going to use. So stay tuned for more information. I think there's going to be more than 3 people to use it, but we've got to get to that. But it's becoming very productive between us and the county, and I'm looking forward to that. To Councilmember Boomgarden, your comments with what was going on with LAFCO, the municipal's review. We continue to take that forward with the county because it's a delicate balance. And my comments to them were very simply put, it's not an if, it's going to be a when, because it's a delicate balance with mutual aid, and it concerns, I know all of us on this dais, that Sutter County Fire is understaffed. They're working on it. They're going to try to figure it out. It's not our it's not our job to solve the problem for them, but it's our job to make them aware of how it will impact us. And it's a delicate balance to where we may be helping Marysville, or we may have our own issues here, and they call for mutual aid, whether it be fire, or whether it be police services as well. And it's not going to be, we're not coming, we can't. We're already stressed because we've seen the effects of things. So know that that is at the forefront. And we continue to bring that up so that they know that this is something that's definitely not going to go away. And I know that they are working on it. The other thing we talked about as well, homelessness, the upcoming workshop on the 29th. Some of them may be in attendance, but they might be here to listen only. The 29th workshop is for city. This is not the workshop for our third-party partners like consortium and things of that nature. This is for us as a city. It's not even for the county at that point. We need to take a real good look at how we're interacting as a city, at what levels and what services are needed. So while it's an open meeting, anybody can come. The comments and the discussion really needs to be amongst the city and the city personnel. They'll have their day at the other workshops as we begin to grow that circle out. But that will be coming up on the 29th. Then Councilwoman Espandola, thank you for putting the tour together. That was great. And Joaquin, it was, as soon as I saw him, I was like, I know you. And turns out we worked together years ago when he was in DC. So that was a neat connection there. To Al Matna Farms, Ducks Unlimited, thank you for hosting us. Such gracious hosts to bring us together for a lunch and to give us the opportunity to show our region and our city's best foot forward. And that brings me back to the real rock stars of the day, and that is Miss Langley and your team, Ben, everybody from the city. You guys, you were impressive, and I will just leave it at that. You know, it was, thanks for having the mayor along for the day, but it was nice to watch you guys in action. You guys, I will put you up against any other municipality around here. You know your stuff. You're a great team, and we should be proud of each and every one of you. You guys are rock stars. So, you know, the bad part is it may be a year or so for the funding comes through, but the seeds have been planted, and now we just need to continue to water them and move forward. So thank you guys. You guys are incredible. To Ms. Young, the Buckeye hostess, it was an honor to be there and present on behalf of the city the gift, and great parade, great reception. Ms. Langley, congratulations again. I'll just leave it at that. I know you don't like it, but you well deserved, and very happy that you were awarded that. Coming up, I do have transit later this week, and then there will be a special meeting for RWMA the following week, and the vice mayor will be filling in for me. And I believe that just about covers everything. Is there anything else from the council tonight before I adjourn? Okay, with that, at 8:21, I will adjourn this meeting.
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.